everybody, Invisiblekatana here. Today I would like to discuss horrible launches for video games. I almost wanted to title this one Fake Video Games, but that wouldn't be fair. I mean, honestly, if Mindseye came out and I made it, I'd be ecstatic because I can't make games. And even though that game came out horrible, which I figured it would, I think a lot of people did. The writing was honestly on the wall. But, if I did that myself, it would be great. However, I'm not a game designer. I'm not formerly from Rockstar. I'm not someone that was hired to do literally anything involving game design. I'm just here looking at stuff and thinking, we'll see. We'll see what happens with that one. And much like the day before, I knew it wasn't gonna happen. I'm like, okay, can't say it's a fake game. Although the day before, you could kind of argue a little bit with that one that was definitely fake. Like the stuff that they were showing there, you couldn't even really do that even during the 2 days that game was up. But we've had quite a few launches in recent years. I'd say the past 5 is a good example. I don't exactly remember when Cyberpunk came out, but that I would consider like the start. And we have games that come out, different variations. Cyberpunk came out and it was like, okay, that's very unfortunate. Like things didn't really work out. Once again, the writing was kind of on the wall, maybe less so with that one because they did end up doing 2 separate delays where you're like, okay, that's really crazy. That really sucks. But 2 full delays, you think everything's set to jet. And then of course, when all the previews came out at the time, it was like, yeah, we got a PC copy and I'm only allowed to use certain footage. Bad sign. That's a real bad sign. And it was like, okay, well, let's see what happens. And unfortunately, what happened was an absolute disaster, specifically on consoles. I kind of want to buy it on consoles just to play the base PS4 version just to see, just to experience that for myself. I've always thought about that. I would love to do that just for the insane disaster that it was. But of course, that game comes out, lots of problems, lots of issues, literally got refunds for people, which, Mindseye did the same thing. And over time, it's built up. Now you can buy, just get the PS5 version or get the Ultimate Edition on PC. Everything's great. They fixed a bunch of problems. They actually added in a lot of stuff that they said they were going to add in. It recovered itself, much like, actually more than 5 years ago. I don't even remember when this game came out because it's been 100 years now. But No Man's Sky, that game is still going. And that was a horrible launch. Nobody, the writing wasn't really on the wall with that one because it was just like, hey, just go here and do this. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. It's, it's open universe, even procedurally generated universe. And it seems simple enough. All right, you scan some things, you can find some monsters. And then the game came out and it's like, well, you couldn't do that. That seems simple to me. But once again, the game came out, bad launch, fix some things. All the updates have been free. You can play that game in VR at this point. You can do so many things in that game now. And they have another game coming out, which I'm very curious about that one where everyone has their own, it's not a procedurally generated universe, it's like a procedurally generated world. So everyone gets their own server type of thing, because I don't think it's every person that's playing could run into each other. But once again, we'll see when that one comes out. But right now we're dealing with Mindseye. Mindseye, you can throw Concord in there just to be like, hey, Concord, that was 2.5 minutes. The day before, which really was the closest thing to a fake game. Every time I saw that, I was just like, yeah, this isn't happening. I was saying that for months before that one came out, where I was like, this isn't really gonna happen. I was shocked it even released. If I'm being totally honest, I was stunned that the day before actually even came out at all. That was, like I said, the closest to being a fake game, where I was like, there's no way this is even gonna happen. They're gonna be like, oh, sorry, we canceled it. And it was like, no, they actually released it for a day and a half. And, everybody played exactly what they expected to play. And then it was all said and done. But that was a crazy one. I was honestly shocked that game came out. Mindseye, I was like, this game's coming out for sure. And it's definitely gonna suck. But the day before, I was like, no, this game's fake. This game's not even actually gonna happen. And it did. And that in itself really surprised me. And nothing else about it did, because it was just as horrible as I anticipated. And it was hilarious to watch. It was a great couple of days to see people that actually bought it and watch YouTubers play and just go online and just deal with the absolute ridiculousness of that really fake game. And it was fun to watch, so it was nice to see. Unfortunate, because when it was first premiered, it was like, oh, I love a good apocalypse game. I love that. That's really fun, and it seemed very detailed, and you could pick this up and touch this, and everything was finely tuned. And then reality struck. So it is what it is. But we've had quite a few, bad launches in our time. It's almost been a historic run if you really think about it in the last couple of years. I mean, honestly, things that have just been super crazy but had redemptions, things that have been super crazy but failed, like with Concord. And that was one of those ones where, like I said, I can't really title this one like, fake games or anything. That one came out. We knew it was coming out. Nothing was stopping it from coming out. It just had a really horrible 2-week launch. If it was even 2 weeks. I can't even remember at this point, but it was historic how quickly that game came out and then was all said and done. Like, all right, well, we're cutting that. It's gone forever now. And if you have a physical edition, it's a weird piece of gaming history, like memorabilia. So that was an interesting one. And here we are once again with Mindseye and the absolute insanity of whatever this is going to end up being. I mean, people are being offered refunds for it because it's so horrible. I highly doubt they're going to do anything with it because it's like, hey, we got a roadmap and this and that and the whole everywhere system where people can make whatever they want, but that's also only on PC. So if you bought it on console, you can't actually do the creation stuff because for some odd reason they couldn't make it work for consoles, which I find absolutely insane. I mean, it wouldn't have made a difference, not much of a difference, but I'm sure there would have been somebody that's like, hey, if you bought this game, I'll make some awesome levels for you. That happens all the time. I mean, heck, look at Bethesda. They don't even put work into Starfield and they let people make mods that they pay for. So, like companies can live off of other people making stuff. Like games can live on for quite a long time until they're just like, all right, well, we're shutting the servers down. Like Little Big Planet is a great example. They, obviously they weren't getting paid for, we didn't pay to use other people's levels or anything. That was just the company paying, and eventually they shut the servers down. Very tragic, of course, because all those levels are just, kind of gone forever now, and that's really sad. But that's just how it is. Like, there's tons of levels that were made by other people. That was kind of the lifeblood of that game. And I don't think Mindseye is going to get that. I don't think even with the creation tools, there aren't going to be enough people that are like, oh, this game can do something great. I don't know if that's possible, because even if you make something that's cool, I'm pretty sure you're stuck with the AI that the game is proven to have, which isn't great. So I don't think you can make levels and then be like, yeah, I made this really cool mission and stuff. And it's like, well, unfortunately, the AI is absolute garbage. So it doesn't matter how cool your idea was, much like the main game itself. You can go through all those missions and have some cool cutscenes and explosions going off. And then when you have to kill somebody, they're just standing there, or the robots just stand still, or they fly and shoot each other, or just run around and barely shoot like one bullet every 10 seconds. And it's like, well, if you put all of that crap into the, personal creation mode, it's still a bunch of crap, and that's very unfortunate. So I don't see anything happening with Mindseye going forward. It's the classic situation. It's like, hey, we're gonna support this game for years to come. Mortal Kombat 1 is finished, and so that's where we are right now. Like, every time something doesn't work, all that roadmap stuff is like, yeah, we're just gonna. That's done. That's finished. I really hope that doesn't happen to FBC Firebreak. I want to point that out right now. As of recording, that came out yesterday, and the reviews aren't that great. And the reviews are kind of exactly what the preview said, where a lot of people are like, hey, there's not enough variety. And that's what I was really worried about, where everyone kind of said the same thing. Like, yeah, it's kind of fun, but you feel like you go through the whole game pretty quick. Like, a lot of people, if you go on Steam, of course, all the reviews that are negative are like, hey, I didn't even have to hit the 2-hour mark to do everything that's in the game. And that's, where the big problems come from. And that's what everyone said in the previews as well. So I was worried about that. I still want to get the game. I'm just, a poor broke bum. But at some point I do want to get the game, and hopefully I'm able to get it in time to still actually play with people, before everyone abandons it. But I hope that does get support. I hope Remedy does continue to support it and they add those extra missions and it does make a difference down the line. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I hope they don't abandon it, and we'll just have to wait and see. It's on PS Plus, it's on Game Pass, so that's definitely gonna help with the numbers and keep people around, at least for a tiny bit, because obviously it still has to be really fun for people to keep going with it. So I hope it lasts long enough for me to be able to afford it, but if not, that's unfortunate. But I do want to play that game really bad. But that's not the same thing as Mindseye. That's just a launch where it's like, oh, that's unfortunate. People just don't like the game as much. This is more for like disasters. You know, like Mindseye is a disaster. Hilarious to watch. I love seeing the footage. You know, much like the day before, I love seeing the footage. Cyberpunk, I love seeing the footage. Like it's all the same. It's all the same stuff. You can go back to Fallout 76. Same thing with that, with all the glitches and stuff. Funny enough, I didn't expect that game to be so riddled with glitches. I know that might be crazy to say, but I wasn't expecting it to be like riddled with glitches and stuff. I just thought that game's gonna suck because it's not like Fallout. It's all multiplayer. Once I found out there were no NPCs, I was like, why would this game be good at all? And then of course it came out, and once again, same situation. And it has a bit of a redemption, especially now where, the last DLC they put fishing in, but other than that, they put in actual NPCs. They have characters and real quests and things that you can do that are beyond run around and read some notes, that you can actually talk to characters. So once again, a bit of a redemption. You can have a horrible launch and still make it. That doesn't work for everybody, but it can work. It takes some time. You take your licks and then you figure it out and you make something better out of it. And so people can join in later and it's like, hey, I got to experience it and it was just fun for me personally. And that's nice. It would be nicer if the people that did it day one had that experience, or pre-ordered it, had that experience, but at least it's good at some point, That doesn't, mean much for everybody, because there's some people that are just gonna leave it behind and be like, well, I already dealt with this and so I'm done. But at least there are redemption stories. I'm curious to see what happens with Mindseye. I highly doubt that anything's gonna happen there, especially considering it was like, hey, everything about that company before it came out was the leadership is bad. 2 of the people actually effing left the thing. The guy that used to be at Rockstar was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure people are being paid to say our game is bad. It's like, really? That's what you want to go with? That's what he went with. Like, honestly, come on. You got to be smarter than that. You got to be way smarter than that. But it is what it is. So we'll see what happens in the future of things because, we don't have to worry about Marathon because that apparently just got infinitely delayed. What a shocker. You can look at my Marathon video for that because I was like, I'm pretty sure that game's getting canceled with the whole thing with the art and all that stuff. I'm like, I think that game's gonna get canceled, but it's delayed indefinitely. That's a beautiful legal term. I don't know all the legalities of it, but let's be honest. We all know canceled is different from indefinitely delayed because that's legally speaking, those are 2 different things. So it's delayed for now, indefinitely, and we'll see what happens with that. But, what an interesting time. It's been really front-loaded as of late, with, it's not even just live service stuff. Cyberpunk wasn't live service. Mindseye isn't live service. It's a weird in-between because of how it was initially made anyway, and they have like weird battle pass stuff and then like premium battle passes, but it's a single-player game, but also an online creation mode. So that one's so weird, doesn't even make sense, honestly. But it's been a heck of a time the past 5 years. Honestly, if we just look at the last 10 years of just things that have happened, there's been some crazy bad launches where things just came out and it was just like, woo, that's kind of crazy that's how that ended up playing out. But we'll see what happens going forward. I do hope, I've said this tons and tons of times, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but hopefully we are hitting the end of that live service thing from every company. It's like, look, just let Fortnite be Fortnite and PUBG be PUBG. If you want to throw in a battle royale mode, go ahead, but just make an effing game. Like just make something that's good and stop trying to do live service. Even fighting games have it like that, really, and at least they're still fun for the most part. Once again, MK1, but Tekken is great, Street Fighter is great, and we are not going to see the next Tekken or Street Fighter for like another 9 effing years because that's how they're doing their games now. So even fighting games are kind of adapting that sense where it's like, yeah, you can buy this one game and you will have that one fighting game for like 10 effing years. At least the games are fun. But, it still is kind of a weird thing like, oh man, you're going to have just this one game for an eternity. But at least they do some good work with it. So, I don't know. We're in an odd position in gaming and hopefully we're finally hitting that mark. Hopefully, especially for PlayStation specifically, we are hitting that mark where they are effing done with this live service thing and they just go back to just pumping money into single player stuff. I wish I could say maybe we'll see what happens with EA, but we know what EA does. If they make anything single player, they'll kill it anyway. I will say that every chance I get because I'm still pissed about Dead Space dying twice. Still hate them for that. But that'll be where I end things off. I would love to know your thoughts on just the latest disasters that we've had, just the past couple of years in general. But of course, like I said, the Mindseye thing, the marathon thing, video super duper recently, because for me as of recording, that was yesterday. Much like the release of Firebreak, yesterday was when they delayed, infinitely delayed, marathon. Surprise, surprise. But I would love to know your thoughts on just where things are when these horrible launches come up. What are some older launches that you guys can think of that were just like, this was really bad, really, really, really bad? And some games come out and they're just lambasted because they come out really bad. I mean, heck, I can obviously always throw out the Resident Evil 3 remake for just being super disappointing to the community. But that's nothing compared to Cyberpunk or Mindseye or Concord just vanishing off the face of the planet. So, it's very different. You could just have a launch where the game just came out bad, but that's totally different. That's why, like the FBC Firebreak thing is like, that I'm not counting as like just a disaster. Yes, the game isn't getting the best reviews. We'll see what happens. It could technically end up counting as a disaster by the end if they just abandon the game, but that's not the same as Mindseye. That's not the same as, Concord or, like I said, No Man's Sky when that first came out and just the way everything went down there. So I would love to know your thoughts on that. The crazy, horrible launches that we've had in the past, and fair games. We'll see what happens with that. So please, put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.